Hello Internet and welcome back to Rail Survival, a Space Engineers series where, we kinda have it all. We've got rails, we're surviving, everything's going great. And I say that semi-facetiously because actually I've run into an issue. So I was just kind of running the rail cars around to test everything, got this little guy. I can't remember if I showed or not. I'd made some little adjustments, so they've got got little happy faces that help just kind of indicate direction. I ran him down to, in fact, hold on. Let's can't remember exactly why you are stopped currently. So I'm gonna take this guy up to the top of the hill. Is this gonna... Actually, no. This shouldn't cause an issue. I'll wait down here. So you can see part of the challenge. They are very slow, these train cars. I wanted to kind of send it... I think the gold line is longer, but I knew this had the hill, and I kind of wanted to test the hill. Which... I believe that was in a video. I did test the hill, and in my welding car, it worked great. Kind of as expected. The issue I ran into, once I finally got this guy out here, we can probably see it. Or I don't need to go to it. I have antennae. So let's stop. Then I will trigger the reverse. And oh yep, and you can see, so the speed on the left hand side of the monitor is the speed of the thing, and you can see we are currently careening down the track. It's weird to call 12 meters a second careening, but it accelerates freely. Oh no, that wasn't supposed to happen. Okay, well, we get to test this signal. So yeah, the issue I ran into... Oh, that actually worked perfectly. Haha! I got that right. Well, that's convenient for the speed it up. Okay, that part's wrong. I'll have to figure that out. But yeah. So... it careens down the hill. When I did this the first time, I smashed into the thing. I think everything's fixed.
Meteor storm inbound.
Well, that's not fixed. Yeah, and it was. So yeah, I sort of careened into the side of things and blew up. Blew up the connector, damaged the other connector. You guys stay away from my track. So yeah, signal solves that problem. I don't know why it started moving again after reaching the signal. Let's get in here and figure that out. Oh, I know why. Oh, fascinating. So if you recall, I'm trying to save hydrogen because I'm way out here. I already had to fly back and forth to repair stuff. Anyway, as you can see, that box is my sensor field range. It's a big old box that kind of extends around everything. If you recall, as the train careened through the signal, it slid past a fair bit. It was going fast enough that the brakes couldn't, stop it. It moved, I believe, past the signal, which meant to it, the signal was now raised, which means it could go. In reality, that's okay. That's kind of exactly what I want to happen here, because I don't want it to actually stop forever there. I want it to slow down with its brakes before it hits the end and then continue. But that's why that occurred, and that's a good thing to keep in mind. If I'm going fast enough that I move past the sensor, like out of the field range with the, if I move past the signal and out of the field range of the sensor, it counts as if the signal just went up and the train will behave accordingly. Now, what I'm not quite sure about is why it didn't actually lock. And that we can also check. Oh, right. So that's what, when things blew up, now it should lock and trigger all the stuff. Maybe. I may have to do that manually. Yeah, the whole everything kind of breaking, it removed. Oh god, I have to go through all of this and make sure that that connector is still in where it needs to be. Yeah. Okay, so I think everything's working. I fixed my forward and reverse departure, I believe. So the only thing I had to really fix was this docking guy. So added reverse back in, and then it was locking both my connectors, which is correct. It just locks whichever one's ready to lock. Triggering the stop command, which stops the wheels. I wasn't actually triggering this parking sensor, and I don't know why it exists. Because the parking timer block, all it does is turn off my antenna, set my battery to recharge, which is good, but I could have just done that in the event controller. I'm not sure why I have a timer block for it. So I set the delay to, yeah, 1 should work. I set the delay to 1, and then I have it start instead of trigger now in the actual event controller. The only thing that'll do is it kind of gives a delay before everything turns off, which will hopefully make sure that everything locks and triggers. It usually works without that, but I don't know. I have a timer block. I figure I should use it for something timery. So the train is now connected. And I believe... What is this guy saying? So it's watching the connector. Is this full of ore? No. Was the connector full of ore? Yes. Why no ore putty in Kari? I think... Okay. Hold on. So that is full. That's my gold drill. Nickel, silicon. Okay, that's the magnesium drill, and the drill is empty. Okay. I think what this is... So the connector is full, but the connector won't push ore out. I would need a sorter or something to pull ore into the train car. Do I have a way to do that? I do have a little... I have a little room. Oh, actually... Okay, I may be able to make this work. So... My issue... Having a, with nothing sort of pushing the ore, nothing signaling the ore that it needs to move from there into this, it won't do it. I could put a sorter in, like, right here. That would let me pull the ore from in here, and it'll push it into the cargo containers. Sort of like a pump. The issue, that sorter won't let stuff go back the other way. They're omnidirectional. So I would need some way to take that omnidirectional input. Basically, I'd need a bypass. I'd need 2 conveyor loops. And I think, and hopefully, I'm just going to have to guess. I hope that this is actually, no. I can check. If I have some steel. Did I? Oh no, I just did more damage than I thought. That's why that one was damaged. Okay. That edge is a connection point, so I can grind this off without breaking everything. If I have a T there, my sorter here, there is a main line straight there. That means when I connect at the other end, I can pull stuff out easily. But the sorter here lets me, if I had the parts, I could make another line that goes to here, and everything would just kind of work. I could still pull stuff out. It might produce some weird thing where it tries to infinitely pull stuff through forever. But I don't think that's too big of a worry. So long as it's in the train, I don't care if it's moving through pipes. You know what? Kind of sucks that it's dark out, but if I'm going to be over there for a while, I should really probably take the truck. Alright. So that is that. Do the same thing over on this side. So I've named each of them. My naming conventions are pretty ununiversal, but we've got these guys, which are the ore car sorters. So if I hit drain all, yep, the thumpers started thumping because the containers, well, the issue now is that it just keeps moving the stuff around. That's what I was afraid of. Shut that off for a minute while I'm working here. I think I can do this a little differently and it will work. So the thing I was worried about is happening, which is that the sorters are pulling from their closest inventory, which is the cargo containers. The issue, the cargo container, once it had a little bit, it just fills up the sorter with what's in the cargo container, which doesn't really help us. I should be able to make that work, though. So basically, this is a free-flowing tube. Stuff can go in, but stuff can come out, which is, I want stuff to come out. I don't actually need stuff to go in through the port that's back there. So if I get rid of that, this is part of why I brought more conveyors than I need. So this becomes conveyor sorter for loading, which means it'll pull from there and go in. If I then have a second sorter here, because sorters are only one direction, this will stop. Well, this stops stuff from flowing in this way, which doesn't matter. But what this will do is allow me to turn it off. when I turn off a sorter, it acts like a valve and stops cargo. So this should mean ore can get pulled from this way, loaded into containers, but it won't get pulled out of the containers by that sorter anymore. Then when I get to the other end, I just have to turn these on and turn those off. The issue here is my system isn't really designed for that. It just detects connector and connects. It doesn't do it considering where it is. Though that may not be the worst thing in the world. Because I should be able to set up a thing where I automatically tell it to do the thing. Where I tell it to switch. It'll be manual, but because I have the action relays, I can set up a button in the control tower, and from that button, I can have it alternate. So if these things, I can have it come to the station, dock, then I manually trigger the button to make it happen. And I could even set them up on different signals so I have individual control. We'll see if I need that, but for now, let's make this change. And I need to... There. There we go. Do that so that the connector stays attached. So I set that one to drain all, partially just so I can paste it in. These may not have to drain all. The inner ones, it depends on how I set it up at the other end. But okay. The stored stuff is going down. The train is filling. Which means if I turn this on, the train will it will fill up the train, and then once the train's full, the connector will fill, and once the connector fills, it turns this off. So everything there works. I think the last thing I want to do will probably involve me flying back home again. I'll make it so this signal... Well, I have an idea to make this signal a little more useful. Alright. So I've got this sensor here. Which is... Will this work? Haha! There's an antenna 2 kilometers away that's allowing this to be displayed. So... the issue I'm trying to solve here, this signal, I want it to cause the train to brake when it gets here. All that was working fine. But I don't want it to interfere when the train's trying to leave. So, with this sensor, I can position it so that it's detecting if the train is kind of here, it will have the arm go up. I should be able... Oh no, I cannot... that shouldn't matter. So that's the... I can't have it go any sort of further away from the sensor. But... basically I just need to make sure this thing is down when the train is coming, which that should do. So to make this easy, I'll just leave the sensor sort of make sure it detects from both angles, so it doesn't do a thing where it goes up, loses sense of the train, and then drops again. Set everything to nice, solid numbers. So that should, no matter what way the signal is, it should detect the train. Set the signal up. So when it detects, I want it to, yeah, I can just set velocity positive. And when it no longer detects, set velocity to negative. And I can test this by just flying out. Yeah. So that should, whenever the train is there, the signal will be raised, allowing it to leave unimpeded. And then once the train leaves, signal drops. So when it comes back, it knows not to crash into the connector. So don't detect me. Do detect small ship. In subgrid? No, I don't think subgrid will work. So it wasn't detecting the train because the train is currently locked, therefore it's not a, well, not a small grid. The issue is subgrid will always work because it's a subgrid. So the subgrid it's attached to, it'll detect the main grid and all of that breaks. Well, okay. Worst case, when this thing tries to leave, it will immediately detect... no, that is a potential issue. So, my issue here, if the signal is down when the train tries to leave, the train will detect the signal and stop. That's not horrible, except for if it stops as soon as it starts, it is still in connector range. So the timer that tells the connector to be off for like 10 seconds until the train is well clear of the other connector might trigger, allowing the connectors to turn back on, allowing it to reconnect, which then triggers the thing to park again, meaning the train can never leave. You know what? Fill up on more hydrogen. Yep, as my bottle runs out. I can solve this problem pretty easily. If I just move the thing, it's basically a one-way signal already. So if I just move the signal to the other end of the track, the train starts, enters the signal range, the signal comes up, the signal will be down from the other end. All should be good. Okay. I don't need that showing on HUD anymore. That should work. Okay. Right. Well, I'm 80% sure all the signals should be set to get this back somewhere. It might be set... They're slow, I'll drive faster in the truck. I'm gonna send this thing off. We'll see if the trigger triggers. I need to get rid of this guy, which was here, I believe, just for testing. Basically, I needed it to stop at the top when I was verifying that it was going to just careen freely. So we have not quite a load. We can turn that on. I'm not too worried about this being a full load because I don't want to wait here. But if I disconnect this guy, the train should start going down the track. It should trigger this signal to go up, allowing it to go through. Let's paint this while I remember. Yeah. There we go. Differentiate it from the red stop signals. Alright. Magnesium. Unlock. Why aren't we moving? Okay, I think the issue, if we notice, the sensor is still on for this way and the face is still this side. Not on this side. That means it's still set the wrong way, which means I think the stop command never triggered. Okay, so vent controller depart forward, which is what should have triggered, because it would have detected small connector reverse, which is that guy. So when disconnected, it enables auto on the battery, turns on the antenna. Triggers the wrong timer block. That's triggering reverse. It should be triggering forward. What does this one do? Forward when it should be triggering reverse. That would do it. See, this is why these sorts of tests are important. Also, I hope I'm actually remembering this right and not just further breaking it. But I think that's wrong. Right, depart forward. It should send us forward. It's watching the reverse connector, so it should trigger forward. So that sets us in the forward direction. TB departure. What does this guy do again? Right, departure is the thing that stops the connectors from reconnecting. Or rather, it stops the event controller that would reconnect the connectors. I think if I trigger TB forward, it should go. Yep, and go it does. Okay, the weight's a little unbalanced. Will that be an issue? I mean, the sensor thing worked perfectly, and it didn't stop the train. I was gonna drive the car back. I kind of want to ride along on the train, just make sure it doesn't get stuck. No. What I will do, blueprint it so we have our changes saved. We'll assume it can make it back. Let's get the car back. Make sure all of my switches are set such that it's not going to... basically the only issue that could happen, because the only thing that doesn't have a stop thing, is if it got sent back into the yard. Or into the building place, the shed. We'll call it the shed. That should be fine for now. Let's check these signals out. Yep. So it's currently set to go towards the shed. Set us to the middle. No, let's set us to the yard. I need to get fuel, and then we'll go and find the thing. It should, okay. Yay for antennas. Is it stuck? I think it's... No, it's still moving. It's grinding a little bit. Yeah, it's not the most stable in this state. In theory, this isn't... the trains will never be moving like this. Oh, can I limbo? Oh. Yeah, this isn't great. Let's make sure... Okay, it can It's making it around corners and such. Oh, it's janky. Let's... Right. There we go. That should balance it out. Yeah, that's a little better. It was also weirdly... seemed to be popping a wheelie. In fact, yeah, on straightaways, it kind of gets moving. I mean, it's not a bad thing, and so long as it, you know, it seems to slow down just by the nature of hitting things in corners. So long as it doesn't cause them to, you know, crash into stuff. I guess... this is gonna be dangerous. Can I get down to the front? Oh, nope, nope. Okay, we'll just do it this way. It's happy to be going this direction. We'll set the sensors to 8 meters range. Also, that felt really bad. I'm not sure what that was. We'll set the sensors to 8 meters range. Hopefully that gives it just a little bit more stopping time, though that may break... We'll see if it breaks the magnesium. I can fiddle with that to make it work. But with a little bit more stopping distance, the increased speed shouldn't cause an issue. So my main fear with that was increased speed. If they're set to kind of detect, you know, one, I don't want it running off the end of the track. I think there's enough distance for the track that it wouldn't be an issue. I'm more worried if I have two that sort of see each other. I don't want them accidentally crashing into each other because they see the other train too late. So it should come up to this guy, connect up, and then I guess, I mean, once it's here, I really ought to unload it. I have my first load of material by train. And I think part of how I was going to actually do that was to come off of this guy, which also gives me a reason for it to exist. Okay, the ore rail car is coming. It's kind of going full burn at the moment, so... honestly... there we go. Take control. I'm a little bit worried about it coming in too quick and damaging things. Let's... well, that's not too quick. Let's see if it breaks something. Okay, not quite. But enough. Okay. So whatever speed it's going is too much speed. We can fix that. But yeah. So now it's docked. You can see stop has been triggered because the little face is sleepy. And it won't unload because I'd have to do that with these guys. But I am okay with a little bit of manual work, having to come over here and tell them to manually empty. Let's suffix that. Except with a space. A little bit of a mess, but easy to keep track of. And if we set our speed limit to 10 kilometers an hour, these things will be slow as all get out, but hopefully they won't crash into things. So I don't know if collectors need... let's see what they look like. Because that's sort of my plan, is to just dump from things on the back of here into collectors. Okay, so I can put them in the ground, but they only have connections on the bottom. So I am going to need a sort of network. And building up that way. Okay. I'm gonna need to come up in altitude to get stuff aligned. So we will do that. And I think we can, yeah, we should be able to get away with it here. Okay, this is gonna get a little weird, but I think it'll work. So my plan is to just have one collector under each. And I think I'm going to convert to small grid because each of these, as I've kind of gone over previously, is staggered a little further back. So each one, like I could put just a straight connector here, but then I think the ore will overshoot this one, even though doing the same over here might land square in the box. With small grid, I can be a little more precise, and I think it'll make it easier because I won't need a ton of these guys. It's time to eat another frontier stew as well. It is nice. They fill you up completely. The only downside is, again, it feels like a little bit of a waste because you'd have to be starving to get full use out of it. But you know, I made them, so might as well enjoy them. Conveniently, I realized, so when I drove the truck out especially, this whole area is kind of a little tight considering my garage door is right there. So I should be able to put a little bit of a ramp over here, and because I was able to get it so low into the ground, I can still drive through here. Which makes it a little bit more convenient. I'll weld those later. But yeah, so now I need to get a tower thing in there, and yeah, so this is that's the conveyor port I'm gonna connect to send stuff over to the main base. Okay. So all that piping took a long while. Actually, I may have the stuff I need. So this is a bit excessive, but I thought it would look better to have the sort of thicker ends. And then I can taper it down to a little something. I guess I could actually hold on. There's no need to taper them down because I have a big small connector that'll work. I was originally gonna like line stuff up, but I think I can get away with just angling each of these differently. And I think that might be more fun. Alright. So let's just we'll just eyeball these guys. By eyeball, I mean estimate with numbers, I guess. So the first one was minus 64. Second one minus 62. If this one, or minus 63. If this one's minus 62. No, I don't think that's what we want. Minus 60? That may do it. Minus 56. Just set this up. So ore ejector, throw out everything and collect all. This should start pulling ore out of the train. Once I open up the valve, which I'll hold off on doing so that I can put the things on all of here. The settings. So let's turn off that sorter. Turn on this one. Huzzah! And I'm making perfect baskets.
Inventory full.
Gather up a few of those. Test these other guys. Yep, that one went in. Went in. And went in. Cool. So now I just need to figure out how I control this. Honestly, I have a timer block available in here. I do believe. Yeah, okay, these are the ones on here. It's a little bit of a pain to sort through everything. So yeah, timer block extra. Call this timer block load unload. I also have a spare event controller. I think I'd prefer to control this via event controller. Yeah, that should work. So that remains an extra timer block. Event controller 5 becomes event controller load unload. And it'll watch if a block is switched on or off. That block, or those blocks, will be our conveyor sorter outs. And I should probably... I should specify numbers here because I'm going to need to control only one. So. Load unload. I'll watch just normal out. So when out is turned on, I want to turn out 2 on, otherwise turn it off. And then yep. Sorter load turns off, turns on when the others are off. Same for load 2. So, when that goes off, that's sorter 2. So it should be on right now. Sorter should be on. That should be off. Don't know why it didn't. Is that event? Yeah. Is that event controller on? No. That would be why it didn't change. It's okay. So, does this get me close enough that I could push this button? Yes. So that's good. So I'll have a catwalk up here. I think I'll do a button at each end. Even though I don't think it's strictly necessary. I think they'd all back in, but I can't be sure. So, button at each end just in case. This button turns sorter out on, or toggles between on and off on the sorters. So, press that. I'm now in load mode. Ooh, in fact.
Fuel low.
I need a little bit of fuel. I think these guys. So, what I'm gonna do too is have some signs so I can indicate whether or not I am in loading or unloading mode from down here. Which is super frivolous and kind of excessive, but makes me happy. Okay, so that should be set up so the signs at each end as I switch. Yep, we're in unload. Now we're in load. So load goes there. Switch it to unload. Perfect. And that's where I'm going to call it for today. And yes, I am faking this for the outro. This is not the car that I already unloaded. We have our first sort of rail delivery working. Everything seems to be going good. Next week, we're gonna, well, probably build the rest of these, get them all set up, and hopefully by the end of next week, I have a fully functioning rail or transport system. But all that's in the future. For now, oh, okay, car is empty. For now, thank you everybody so much for watching. Feel free to check out the other stuff I've done, and until next week, bye-bye.